I literally just got done crying. And I know this is supposed to be like a happy channel, but I feel like God's talking to me. He's probably talking to you if you're here watching this video, because I didn't start YouTube by accident. I didn't start this channel by accident. I have multiple YouTube channels, and some of them have thousands and thousands of followers on them. And I have had this struggle for the longest time about how to use my talents, my gifts that God gave me. And I know that my gift is not only to create, but to write and to teach. A while ago, I deleted myself from the internet, stopped making YouTube videos, and dove 100% into blogging, which, if you don't know, that's writing, and using my gifts to write and teach, because I teach people through my blogs. I don't just say, look at my life and look at me. I really struggled with this for a really long time, because at one point someone said to me, you only have 50 followers on your Instagram, but I thought you were an influencer or a blogger. And that sat with me for so long. It made me feel like I need to go get all these followers. Like, if I just have so many followers, enough followers, then that's gonna change things for me. And it didn't. It didn't matter how many followers I had on Instagram. It didn't matter how many followers I had on Facebook. It didn't matter how many followers I had on any social platform, honestly, except for YouTube. And it didn't even matter about the followers or the subscribers on YouTube. It mattered more about who was viewing my content, because I can't tell you how many people will watch a video and they won't subscribe, they won't like, they won't comment, but they will come back, or YouTube will show them the video again. That's one reason that I really, really love YouTube. And I also really, really love Pinterest, because to me, Pinterest is like a backup version of YouTube. YouTube is a search engine, Pinterest is a search engine, and when I blog for a search engine, Google, for people to be able to find me. I don't really create this viral content, even though some of my content does go viral. I create search content that people find searching for answers to their questions or solutions to their problems, because I do feel like God shows you things. The other day I watched this video, and it was by this lady. Her name was Virginia Kier, and I don't even know if I'm butchering her name or not. She was talking about getting on YouTube and like, is God calling you? And I've already started putting myself back on YouTube. It was just this message that she gave. This other video says, why I quit Instagram with over 200,000 followers. I literally cried when I read the message that she wrote in here, and it's a Bible verse.
I want to be great at everything that I touch. It's just my personality. So how in the world did I let that go? I literally had to pray. I had to pray that God would take that desire and that obsession away from me. I didn't think it was possible. I had a business coach for years telling me, you need to get off Instagram. I know that you really want to go all in on YouTube. Why are you not doing it? And I'm like, I just can't. I couldn't do it. My mind wouldn't let me do it. And so I started praying. I started praying that God change my heart like this. Romans 12:2, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think.
I got a video the other day from my boyfriend and my dad, like, laughing about me, saying,
"What's your friend to do now?"
I don't know.
You don't know either?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's always sitting in front of that computer, but I couldn't tell you.
I don't know.
Paula says she don't know either. Nobody knows, man. I don't know, man. I tried to ask a couple times, but I didn't get no straight answers, so I have no idea.
When someone says, what do you do? I blog. I'm a blogger. Maybe leave off that part.
it does suck that people can't see your success sometimes. They can't see that I have 12 blogs, or that I've wrote multiple books, or that I have online courses, or that I do online coaching. I do feel called by God to write and create and share my life with the world, and I don't know why, but I quit my full-time job in finance. I didn't quit it to to make YouTube videos. I actually quit it to start my own business, and I started reselling and flipping items online, and then one thing led to another, and then I lost my child, if you don't know that. And then that led me to RV, and then that led me to traveling and healing, and then I started to figure out that, you know, having all these money and these titles, I never knew God the way that I know him now until I made a big decision that turned out to be a huge mistake. I woke up one day feeling like I needed to do a few checks, only to discover I was pregnant. Maybe I was gonna be a mom. And I thought when I told my boyfriend, he'd be, well, I'm not sure what I was expecting, but definitely not what came out of his mouth. I don't remember his words for sure, but I know what he meant, and that was that I could not have that baby. After weeks, maybe a month of pure baby talk and all the bad things that would happen if I had it, I sat there across from the table from this man, a doctor I didn't even know, who handed me a pill and said, just swallow. I committed a sin, and he brought me back to him. And so then I got in this thing about, I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to sell everything. Because there was a verse I had read in the Bible about this guy that was, I don't know if he was a prince or what he was. It said something like, he asked God, how could he be rich or have the things that he wanted in life? And he said, well, I want you to sell everything that you have. Like, you have all these things stored up in your barns, you know, for you, but I want you to get rid of everything. He went on this massive thing to, like, get rid of everything just so that he could be close to God. And I would have to look up all the stories about this, but I just remember that all I could think about was I didn't care about the house, I didn't care about the car, I didn't care about the title or anything else that I had. All I cared about was healing and my dogs at the time and traveling, and I wanted to start my own business, and I just wanted this different life. Okay, I wanted a lifestyle change, I wanted something different in my life, and I knew that God was calling me to do it, but I didn't know what. And I actually never even got on YouTube until one day I wanted to start blogging. And it's kind of funny because the very first business that I started, or the very first name that I put online, wasn't Blogging Brandi. It was Redirected Energy. Redirected Energy was like this thing where I was gonna redirect my energy into something else, something new. It evolved into actually someone like making fun of me. My boyfriend at the time was like, oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna Blogging Brandi? You're gonna be a blogger? Blog? Ha ha ha. That name stuck. And so that's how I became Blogging Brandi. But it all started with Redirected Energy and me trying to heal and me trying to go through this thing. And I remember sending these like creepy messages to people on Twitter. And I was just like, hey, could you answer a couple questions for me? Called X now, but back then I would be like, oh, I'm trying to start like a relationship blog or something like that, because it was what I was going through, and you always try to teach people what you're going through. And so that's what I've kind of learned is through my blogs that I have tried to reach out to people and learn from people. And that's the one thing I like about YouTube and Pinterest and my blogs, is that people are attracted to me. It's not me on social media like Facebook and Instagram where I'm like pushing at them. I call it the push versus pull. So I'm trying to pull people to me with search and them finding me, versus on Instagram and Facebook and platforms like, you know, TikTok and stuff, you're pushing yourself at them and saying, look at me, look at me. And I really never feel like I don't want to say genuine connections, but I never really feel like the algorithm even shows my content to people. Me thinking like a business owner, think, okay, how can I get people to find me in search results? Even when I started my Redirected Energy channel, my faith-based blog and whatnot, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it or how I was going to do everything. And so I thought, well, I'll just do these daily devotionals every day, and that's going to get the momentum flowing. And so I'm doing that on YouTube, I'm doing that on my blog, and then obviously I'm going to be sharing that on Pinterest. But I don't know how much of that I'm going to share on social media, because I really don't feel like that pulls people to me the same way. I have a presence there, I have profiles there, I just don't necessarily post there. I just wanted to let you know, if you feel called to do something in your life, you're never gonna know if you don't try. I can't tell you how many videos I've made, how many times I've been erased from the internet, how many blog posts I've made, how many Instagram posts and Facebook groups and reels and everything else that I made to try to get money in my pocket, people to follow me. What I learned through all that is I just want people to find me, and I don't learn until I test and try, fail, or succeed, and then I repeat the process. You're not going to learn unless you do something to inspire that in you. Really, that's why I ever even got inspired to start my YouTube channel. That's what I was going to tell you, is one day I was crying to this person. I was trying to get him to make my blog. I had found him on like Fiverr.com, and I was just thinking, okay, how can I get him to get my blog for me and build my blog for me. And we were going back and forth, and I had just lost my child. He wasn't working fast enough for me. That was the issue. And so I was like, when are you going to get this done? And he said, well, my sister just had a baby and I'm trying to deal with that right now. Blah, blah, blah. In my head, I'm like, your sister just had a baby. I just lost my baby. Like, I'm not going to say I didn't care about our baby, but I just was thinking,
oh my God, I just lost my child and I'm going through this thing and I'm trying to start my blog. This is what I'm trying to do and I'm trying to tell people about my life.
And I had gotten on the phone with him, and the guy that was going to develop the website for me, that actually developed my very first website, his name was Aaron, he said,
oh my God, have you ever thought about being on YouTube? Because, like, I don't have a blog and everything, but YouTube definitely is.
I was like, YouTube? Me? Probably would be really good at YouTube. That's how it all started. And so I started recording videos of like me trying to do my RV stuff. I tried to take all these different avenues of myself, like my dogs and my cat and my reselling and myself, all these different facets of me, and put them into one place, like this one blog and Brandi. And then it hit me one day when I was praying and I was talking to God, and he was like, no girl, they don't belong in the same place. You need to split them all up. Then I said, how do I do this? What is this thing that you want me to do? You want me to make a bunch of YouTube channels or a bunch of social media accounts or what? That's when I learned that my talent was writing and my gift was teaching. And the best way for me to do that is to create different blogs and different websites and different niches for these different facets of myself. So then I took all the content that I had created and then I just put it on these other blogs. So it's not like I redid everything, although I've made new content now for a lot of those.
I started with one blog, blogandbrandi.com. If you've ever thought about blogging, I'm going to tell you, I have a dozen blogs. I have multiple blogs, and some of them are obviously more successful than others or further along than others. Some of these are more like hobbies, and I haven't put as much time and energy into them, but it all started with Blog and Brandi. And then I started talking about my RV life, but I was talking about my RV life on Blog and Brandi. And so I figured out not everybody on Blog and Brandi cared about my RV life. And so then I created Arversity. It trickled into more blogs than that. So then I started out with Birdie's Doghouse. That's my dogs. And then we have a cat. So Johnny has his own blog, Catitude Chaos. And then if you don't know, before I ever started blogging or got into this and figured out what my gifts were, I was working a 9-to-5 job over at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, just giving my life away to everyone else. And I knew it wasn't my story. I call it my Sarah Blakely moment, but I knew it wasn't for me. I went to college and did the whole thing because my parents wanted me to do that. Really just my dad. My mom's always like, do whatever you want. Support you. And so she's like the best. But my dad is like, 9-to-5 system, do everything by the book. Even if you're in the system and you're thinking, I wish I could get out. I wish that I discovered blogging back when I was in my finance job. Obviously, that has never left me. My dad is a big money guru and he does stocks and trading. And so I have a background in not only cutting hair before I ever did any of this, I went back to school for my finance degree. So I have accounting and finance and investing and financial planning and whatnot. So Fancy Financials is my money blog. And then I have Maps and Miles as my travel blog. Redirected Energy is my religious and faith-based blog, where I share things like daily devotionals and all my Bible besties. And then I have RVing for Bosses is like a spinoff of Arversity. It is my digital nomad and money blog. And then Blab Boss, it's brand like a boss. It's my business and branding blog. I wrote a book all about business and branding. And then I created a website and a blog to go along with the book. That has been there for a long time. And then I have MBA Exchange, which is my reselling blog. And I talk all about reselling and flipping items and making money with things you already have around the house or going to thrift stores and auctions and things like that. I actually did that to get out of my 9-to-5 job. So a lot of people think, oh, you just start this wonderful business and you start making all this money. I never started blogging or anything until after I had started a business. I started a business and then became a blogger when I went through a tragedy. I started blogging to heal. And actually, before I became Blog and Brandi, I was Bloggin, Bloggin, Brandi. And then I added a G to the end of my name. So if you ever want to talk about rebranding, I've done it. I actually have a whole series on my website talking about starting over right now and how I literally deleted myself from the internet and added myself back. So if you ever think, I don't know how to do this, I'm going to have to start from zero and I have no followers and nothing, been there, done that more than you know. Even just changing your name. I did a lot of things wrong during that process, during my rebranding process, things that I would tell you not to do, which is a whole nother video. And so that leads me to Born to Blog Club. That is my blogging blog where I talk all about blogging. And then I also have one called The Drops of B, which is my sober living blog, and I talk all about sobriety and whatnot. If you look at all these and you see what I'm doing or what I've done with my life is a blog. And so I blog about my life through healing and all the things that I've gone through. This is where I've put it all. And so it used to all be on one blog, Blogging Brandi. And then I was just sitting there one day and God was like, girl, they don't go in one place. And so I have all these. I'll put these on my website where you can check these out and learn all about blogging. The reason I say this is I started out with one blog and then I niched down into multiple blogs.
I learned how to use my gifts that God gave me, and I'm still learning how to use them. And I'm not going to say that I'm 100% sure that I have it all right, but you're never going to learn if you don't apply yourself, test, fail, learn, grow, repeat. If you like this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to my channel and tap that little bell icon so you're notified each and every time I publish another video. And drop a comment below. Let me know how you can relate to this if we haven't officially met. I'm Blogging Brandi. I'm excited that I shared this. I'm sorry that I ugly cried for you, but this woman, Virginia Kier, why I quit Instagram with over 200,000 followers. How do you know that God's calling you to YouTube? I don't want to say change my life, but it reset in my mind that I know what I'm doing is right. It was like God showed me a little thing over here saying, hey, girl, don't pay attention to what everybody else is doing. I'm talking to you, and you follow me, and you do what I'm telling you to do. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.